Welcome back to Tom Dave's Live. Today we have Stacy Graves from Bellingham, Washington. Stacy, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, doing great. So glad to connect with you today. If you don't mind, if you could share with our viewers, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I live in Bellingham, Washington, but by way of born and raised in California, moved to New York City when I was 19, and in essence landed here in Bellingham about 12 years ago.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. And I know you have a full life and a family. Tell us a little bit about your family and what you do for fun.
Yeah, so I have been married to my husband, Nick, since 2009, and then we just had our daughter, Halsey. She just turned a year on Wednesday. We had her February 2022. And we have our dog, Lucy, and really like what we love to do is in the Pacific Northwest here, I look out the window because we're literally right on the water. We love just exploring our area. We love getting in the car. My husband's a landscape photographer, and so we love getting in the car as a family and just exploring the Northwest.
Well, I know when I came to visit you, I just love your office. I love Bellingham, Pacific Northwest. So beautiful. So I can see why you landed there for sure. Absolutely. So if you could share a little bit about your real estate story, what
Yeah.
inspired you to get into real estate in the first place?
Well, my mom always jokes that she knew I'd always land in real estate because I think as like a 5-year-old, as we were driving around, I'd like look at houses and mention, oh, like they put a new roof on, they painted, and she always thought that was so odd as a child that I talked about houses. But long story short, when I lived in New York, I actually was a recruiter for accounting and finance. And then when I got married, I just kind of was at a life stage where I just really wanted to be a wife, and I was going through some health stuff. And when we landed in Bellingham, I kind of was like, okay, I think I'm ready to get back to work. And just through networking opportunities, had the opportunity for being an assistant to a top producer. And through that, very quickly over 2 years working with him, kind of realized, okay, I think this is my thing, and I'm ready to launch. And landed at Remax, which is where I met my current business partner now, Chris Erdman, and that was 9 years ago.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So, and I know that you've partnered up with your current with Chris, and I know that you guys have launched an amazing company. Let's talk a little bit about that. How
Yeah.
did Blue Ink come to fruition, and where did you get that name?
Yeah. So blu.ink is kind of Chris woke up one night because to kind of back up a little bit, prior to creating blu.ink, we had a team, Erdman Graves and Partners, at another brokerage. And kind of our life cycle together, when I started working with Chris, I started out as a buyer broker, as an assistant to him. And we just from the very beginning worked so well together. And then he ended up kind of transitioning to becoming an owner of a brokerage. And during that season, we kind of had a really great team. I was just a team member. And he would just bug me over and over, like, co-own the team with me, Stacy, co-own the team with me. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm good, just doing my thing. And then one day he just asked at the right time, at the right place. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So that's when it went from Erdman and Partners. We created Erdman Graves and Partners, the team. And then through that, did that for 3 years. And then he had always consistently, even though he owned a brokerage with other members, he had a very clear vision of kind of what he wanted to create. He'd always share with me like, I just think this would be such a great structure. And I was like, okay. Like, again, at that point, I was a top producer. I loved selling. And when he started mentioning starting a brokerage, just the two of us, I would always kind of like shoot it down because I'm like, I don't know if I'm like ready to stop selling real estate, because I knew in that transition I would need to take a step back, because between our partnership, I'm more of the logistics, the kind of behind the scenes person. So I knew that that would be a role that I would take on. And so again, just timing of things lined up that in November 2019, we just were like, okay, let's do this. And so in the process, we had a couple agents working with us, and they both were like, you guys have to use Urban Graves and Partners. Everybody knows you. And Chris is like, I just feel like this is bigger than Whatcom County. Like, I feel like we're going to grow something, and I don't know if I want it to be attached to our names. And I was like, I'm the personality type where I'm just like, he's the dreamer. He's always thinking 10 years ahead of I. And so I really trust. I was like, Chris, whatever you think. And so we kept playing with names and nothing felt right. And then one morning he woke up and he was like, Stacy, I got it. And he was like, blu.ink. And when he said it to me, it didn't really click. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And he was like, let me show you. And he drives out to my house and he writes it, and he writes blu.ink. And then he shows me that he bought the domain blu.ink. And then it like all clicked. I was like, I see it. And so that's kind of the fruition of kind of how blu.ink was born, was, our team members saying, just encouraging us to stick to our names. And Chris was just that pioneer of like, this is bigger than us. And so blu.ink Real Estate, the brokerage, was founded in February 2020, right before COVID hit, with
Wow.
4 of us, and then grew to 75 brokers in 3 years.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. And the first time I met you and Chris, it made me think about a book called Rocket Fuel. That's a top seller, and where one party in a partnership is the visionary and the other is the integrator, and together they can shoot a rocket to the moon. So you two make such a great partnership, great company, great team, great brokerage. And so, and I know, wow, you could have joined any real estate brokerage. So, what inspired you to join eXp Realty?
Yeah. Well, as a side note, Chris, when he was with the previous company, we almost joined EXP, and that was 7-8 years ago.
Wow.
Glenn is from Bellingham, and through different connection points, they almost took that path, and then him, along with the other 4 co-founders, felt like they wanted to try to do kind of their own thing. So it had always been in our periphery. And when blu.ink started, like, we had a very clear goal, and that was to save our brokers money. We felt like we can't be everything to everybody, but let's really focus on what we want to provide and save our brokers money so that they can reinvest in our business, because we just firmly believe that there's so many options out there for brokers these days to individually grow their business. We wanted to equip the entrepreneur that we believe is in every broker. And so with that, started blu.ink. And then over the course of the 3 years, Chris and I very quickly realized that, like, growing this brokerage thing is not our thing. Like, there's so much to it that we love. We love the people, but we really got to a place where we started having like decision fatigue, especially with the model we created. What we had to have volume, and so we were constantly in growth mode and changing and creating. And with the shift in the market, we just were like, okay, do we double down on recruitment and just keep growing and try to outgrow the market, or do we just stop and think outside the box? Because the one thing that we loved is we loved the community that we created, and we got to the point where we didn't get to really participate in that anymore. We just were trying to lead the helm. And so when we just decided to kind of like, let's think outside the box, we started kind of talking about EXP and what could that look like. DNA of our company and EXP was very, very similar. And so there were a lot of aspects that, because we always were thinking about our brokers, because in the changing market, we wanted to make a move that truly would benefit their business, not just our business. And as we continued looking into EXP and the options that were there, it was crystal clear. I mean, as soon as it hit both Chris and I, we were immediately aligned, and we knew that this was the next step for blu.ink.
Well, you have, all the attributes of a great, courageous leader. I mean, you have a servant heart, you're serving your agents and your company as well as your clients. So not only a courageous leader, but I mean, just an honest communicator. And I love that about you. Plus, your personal commitment to excellence. So I just admire you, and we're so excited, so happy to have you with eXp Realty. And if anyone wants to reach out, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, call my cell phone, text me 360-746-9774, or you can email me. It's just super simple, Stacy at blu.ink.
I love it. Well, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Stacy or myself. We're here for you. And thank you very much. Thanks, Stacy. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Thank you.